Why, hello there, and welcome to Vicky's Neighborhood. I'm Stephanie, and today I'll be reading you Melanie and Vicki, the Princess and the Pauper. In this story, Melanie Watson tells her teachers and classmates her own version of the Princess and the Pauper. So are you ready? Good, then let's begin now. The next day was Wednesday, and Melanie Watson decided that she had her very own version of a classic fairy tale to tell her friends at school. And so, as soon as it was story time, Mrs. Chan said, "Now, who has a story to tell today?" Melanie raised her hand immediately. "I do, Mrs. Chan," she replied. "Okay, go ahead, Melanie," Mrs. Chan chirped. Melanie cleared her throat and began to tell her own version of The Princess and the Pauper. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there lived a king and a queen who had a beautiful daughter named Princess Melanie. For many years the kingdom was ruled by the king and queen. The people were flourished and were very happy. But one day the king and queen had died, and Princess Melanie was destined to become the new queen. Princess Melanie was told that she cannot be queen unless she marries a prince. She knew just the one whom she could marry, Prince Wendell. Not far from the castle there was a young girl who wasn't so rich, but nearly as pretty as the princess. She was a dressmaker and a street singer, and she worked as hard as she could and saved as much money as possible, even for her older brother Eddie, who helped his parents in a bakery shop, along with Sister Janine. Sometime later in the morning, the peasant girl whose name was Vicki had just finished the wedding dress for Princess Melanie, and she packed it up in a bright light pink box and headed off towards the castle to deliver it to her. For some reason, Vicki was promoted to deliver the wedding dress to the future queen. She was very happy to have this job. Meanwhile, Princess Melanie was waiting patiently on the throne for Vicki to arrive, and while she was doing that, her lady-in-waiting, Julie, arrived, but her royal advisor, Gustavo, was nowhere to be found. "Julie, where's my trusted advisor?" asked Princess Melanie as she drummed her fingers on the arm of her throne. "I have no idea, Your Highness," Julie replied, "but I'm sure he'll be here as soon as he can." "I am here, Your Grace," a voice said aloud. It was Gustavo. "So, Gustavo, you finally made it," said Princess Melanie, laughing. "Guilty, but there's someone I want you to meet." Gustavo blushed. "Oh," Princess Melanie remarked, "and who is that?" "My Uncle Ephron," replied Gustavo. Ephron came in. "Greetings, Your Highness," Ephron began as he bowed low before her. "You're as lovely as I thought you might be. I trust that you are engaged to a certain young prince named Wendell. May I offer my congratulations to you, and how you say in London, all the best?" Princess Melanie smiled as Gustavo's uncle kissed her hand. "Thank you," she mused. "Have you been to London before, Ephron?" "Yes, for a very short while before your time, mi querida. I met your father just before he married your mother." "Indeed," Princess Melanie said, feeling extremely impressed. "Yes, indeed. Your mother was a very fortunate woman. She even asked me to attend her wedding," replied Ephron. "My mother was very kind enough to invite you to her wedding, and she must have treated you like you were a most very special friend to her. And my father," Princess Melanie grinned. "Yes, very much," Ephron grinned back. Once she arrived at the castle, Vicki hesitated and looked up at the castle as it touched the sky. She wondered to herself what it would be like to live in it. "Ahem," a male voice began. Vicki snapped back to reality. "Greetings, Captain," Vicki said very politely. "I came here to deliver the wedding dress to Princess Melanie." "Who are you?" the captain asked. I'm Vicki, Vicki replied sweetly. The captain of the guard looked through the list until he saw Vicky's name written on it by Princess Melanie herself. Ah, yes, the princess is expecting you. Follow me, please, he grinned. Thank you, Captain, said Vicki, curtsying. You're very welcome, Vicki, the captain replied nicely. And so Vicki followed the captain of the guard inside the castle as she looked over her shoulder and saw pictures of the kings and queens from the past, including Princess Melanie's parents. Pardon me for asking, Captain, Vicki said, but are they the princess's parents, the king and queen? Indeed they are, my dear, the captain replied, but I'm sorry I have to tell you this. After the princess turned 18, it seemed, her parents died. Oh dear, Vicki said sadly. That's so sad to hear. Princess Melanie's parents were very fortunate. It is now time for the daughter and her prince to take on in their place, the captain continued. Vicki nodded yes as she continued following the captain to the throne room. Excuse me, your highness, the captain began. There's a peasant here to deliver your wedding dress. Oh, wonderful, Princess Melanie chimed. Send her in, if you please. Sure thing, your highness, the captain responded graciously. Then he turned to Vicki. You may go on in now, my child. She's waiting for you. Vicki thanked the captain of the guard and went inside without looking over her shoulder. Of course, Vicki wondered why the captain of the guard had called her his child. Perhaps he had lost his own daughter when the king and queen had died. Vicki cleared her throat. Good day, your highness, she began. I came here to deliver your wedding dress. Good day to you, too, and thank you. But, my dear lady, who may I kindly ask are you? Princess Melanie asked. Vicki, replied Vicki graciously. Princess Melanie was ecstatic. Well, Vicki, today's your lucky day, she mused. Is it really? Vicki asked. Yes, you are just the lady I wanted to see, Princess Melanie said. I am? Vicki questioned. Of course, Vicki, Princess Melanie chirped. Word on the street is you can keep my secret. She stood up from the throne room and sauntered her way across the throne room floor towards the pauper. You can keep my secret, can't you? Princess Melanie asked as she tossed her two long braids over her shoulder. I certainly can keep your secret, your highness, Vicki answered as she handed the box containing the wedding dress to the princess. I'm extremely good at keeping secrets. Splendid, splendid, said Princess Melanie. Oh, Efron and Gustavo, will you please be so kind as to excuse the ladies for a moment or two? Of course, your highness, both men answered at the same time. And so Princess Melanie led Vicki to her quarters and tried on her new wedding dress. The sparkling white skirt swirled about her as she twirled in one circle and asked Vicki what she thought of her new wedding dress. I think it's a perfect fit for you on your wedding day, your highness, Vicki said, giving the princess a thumbs up. Thank you, Vicki, Princess Melanie responded. You're very welcome, your highness. But if you don't mind my asking, what is it you want to tell me? Well, Princess Melanie answered as she hesitated and held her skirt up. I am getting tired of only living in the castle and not leaving unless escorted by my chaperone. Of course, Princess Melanie had such a schedule that she had followed, including the part where she was learning how to be a queen. Suddenly, she had an idea. Say, that's it, Princess Melanie said suddenly. What's it? Vicki asked. Perhaps you can take my place as the princess while I go out and explore the kingdom, Princess Melanie decided. Do you think you can do that for me? Vicki wasn't 100% positive about what it's like to be a princess or what it's like to live in the royal castle, but she reluctantly agreed to take Princess Melanie's place just for one day. I'll be back in the wink of an eye, Princess Melanie promised, once she and Vicki swapped clothes. Vicki looked like the princess, and Princess Melanie looked like the peasant. After she shook hands with Vicki, Princess Melanie left her chamber and made her way merrily out of the castle. Free from her royal duties as the future queen, Princess Melanie walked out into the village. There she met up with a scrawny brown cat, whose name was Pepper. She couldn't help but smile. "Hello, kitty," Princess Melanie said as she rubbed Pepper very smoothly. Pepper knew just how friendly Princess Melanie was, so he purred and purred. "You remind me of my cat Poppy," she said as she slowly picked up the name tag. "Pepper? Your name is Pepper?" "Meow," the cat replied. "Well, Pepper, your owner is in the palace." Just then Princess Melanie had another idea. "Say, maybe you and your owner can move into the castle and stay with Poppy. Would you like that?" "Meow," Pepper replied delightfully. But as Princess Melanie was yet again petting Pepper real nicely, she was stopped short by Vicky's best friend, Lavender, who was a florist. "Hello, Vicky. Back so soon?" Lavender chirped. "Hello. Who, may I ask, are you? And can you kindly keep this a secret?" Princess Melanie, pretending to be Vicky, asked politely. "Well, I'm Lavender, and what secret might that be?" Lavender asked in confusion as she felt Pepper rub against her ankles. "I am Princess Melanie, my good lady, and Lavender is such a lovely name." To prove her point, Princess Melanie had shown her shiny pink rose necklace that her mother and father had given to her before they died. "Oh, Your Majesty," Lavender giggled. "Gosh, do forgive me, I didn't recognize you. But if you please, why are you outside of the castle dressed as my friend?" Princess Melanie explained to Lavender that she was tired and sick of following her royal schedule of nothing but lessons and banquets. Lavender was amused, but she knew that Princess Melanie would like to learn what life was like to live in the village. Vicki, disguised as a princess, saw Poppy relaxing on her cat bed. She sauntered up to the kitty cat and gently petted her. Poppy woke up and meowed a friendly meow at her, and it was her way of saying hello to her. "Kitty, kitty," Vicki said very sweetly. Poppy meowed at Vicki once more as Vicki rubbed Poppy very smoothly, and Poppy purred happily. "Gosh, you remind me of my cat Pepper," Vicki said. "Your owner is out and will return maybe tonight with Pepper, and you can meet him. Would you like that, Poppy?" "Meow," Poppy replied happily. Just then Princess Melanie's lady-in-waiting arrived outside her bedroom and knocked very politely on the door. "Who's there?" Vicki called. "It's Julie," replied a female voice from outside. "Come in, Julie," Vicki replied. Julie opened the door and came in as Vicki continued to pet Poppy. "Lunch is served, Your Grace," Julie said. Vicki, disguised as a princess, knew she hadn't eaten since before she delivered the wedding dress to Princess Melanie, and her stomach began to rumble. Vicki washed her hands and followed Julie out of Princess Melanie's chamber. As Poppy settled down to take her little kitty nap. Vicki saw that the castle hallway was still the same as she had seen it before, when Princess Melanie escorted Vicki to her chambers, where she can try on her wedding dress. The night suits shone like shiny silver plates in the golden sunlight, and the foyer was sparkling like a very beautiful lake. "Golly," Vicki whispered so softly to herself, even Julie couldn't hear. "I wonder how Princess Melanie is getting along out there with her loyal subjects." While she was enjoying herself on her very own private tour of the village, Princess Melanie, disguised as a peasant, saw children playing jump rope. As much as she wanted to have some real fun, she really wanted to spend the most of the rest of her days with Prince Wendell, once they got married and were crowned as the new King and Queen of England. Over to her left, Princess Melanie saw another group of children playing tag and decided to join them. The game was going real well with the children and Princess Melanie, until Princess Melanie accidentally tripped over Vicky's peasant dress and fell to her knees on the nice soft ground. The children laughed, and Princess Melanie had to admit that this was funny too. Later that day, just before sundown, Princess Melanie, still disguised as a peasant, heard a female voice crying out for help, and she dashed back into the village to see what all the commotion was. When she arrived, Princess Melanie saw 2 soldiers and a poor mother who was fighting over a live chicken. She was furious. "What is the meaning of this?" Princess Melanie demanded. One of the soldiers stopped doing what they were doing and asked, "What's a pretty young peasant girl like you coming here to interfere with the soldier's job?" "Peasant girl," bellowed Princess Melanie. "I am not a peasant. I am the princess." She reached into Vicky's dress and pulled out her royal necklace. The soldiers immediately bowed in apologetic respect. The villagers saw the royal necklace, too, and bowed in respect. "It's the princess!" someone in the crowd cried. Then Princess Melanie climbed up on the royal cart and handed out food to all of the rest of the poor but happy villagers. "But, Your Highness," said one of the royal soldiers, "you must forgive us. We were ordered by someone to rob money and food from your royal subjects." "But who is giving you such a diabolical order like that?" asked Princess Melanie. "Shall we discuss that over a bowl of soup?" asked Lavender, catching up to the princess. The soldiers agreed, but only one snuck away. One of the other soldiers, whose name was Ernesto, told Efron, Gustavo's uncle, about what had happened in the village, and Princess Melanie was in the village, disguised as a pauper, returning food and money to the villagers. Although Efron was disappointed, he thought up of a plan. Efron would have Princess Melanie locked in the dungeon and have Vicki marry her nephew, and then afterward he would unmask the real pauper and become the new king himself. When nighttime fell over the kingdom, Vicki waited inside Princess Melanie's chamber for the real princess to return. She wondered what was taking so long, and just as she was about to leave the castle to go look for the princess, Vicki encountered Efron and his sidekick Ernesto as Poppy scurried away to hide. "Good evening, my phony princess," Efron greeted her with an evil grin. "Now that the real princess is out of my way, you're going to marry my nephew. And if you refuse, I'll have you executed the day after tomorrow, and I'll be the new king." "Oh, no!" At Lavender's house, Princess Melanie ate her bowl of soup as she was listening to the soldiers tell them their story, when suddenly Efron had arrived unannounced and surrounded the real princess. Lavender and the other soldiers tried to protect her, but Ernesto had seized Princess Melanie and took her back to the castle and locked her up in the dungeon along with Prince Wendell. Poor Princess Melanie grasped the bars and explained her story to Prince Wendell, that she and Vicki had switched places, and it was only because she was tired of living in a sheltered palace, and Vicki wanted to know what it's like to live in the castle. "But do you still love me, Melanie?" asked Prince Wendell. "Of course I do, Wendell," replied Princess Melanie sadly as she began to shed tears. Just then the door from the castle dungeon closed with a loud boom, and a shadowy figure approached Ernesto with the rest of the soldiers. It was Lavender in disguise. One of the soldiers knocked out Ernesto, and Lavender freed Prince Wendell and Princess Melanie from their cell. Before Prince Wendell and Princess Melanie, Lavender and the soldiers could make their great escape, they heard a voice cry out, "Help! Somebody help us out of this blooming rotten dungeon!" It was Julie and the prince's royal servant Reuben, who had also been imprisoned by Ephron and Ernesto. They freed Julie and Reuben, and together they escaped the dungeon to stop Princess Melanie's royal advisor from marrying Vicki. Meanwhile, Vicki, dressed as a princess bride, nervously walked across the aisle towards the altar, where Gustavo and the royal bishop was waiting for her. She looked over her shoulder and hoped Princess Melanie would arrive in time to save her from Ephron's clutches. Vicki felt even more nervous as Gustavo answered, "I do." Of course, he was twice as nervous as she was, but he knew that he had to follow his uncle's orders. "Do you, Princess Melanie, take—" "Stop!" Melanie said suddenly. The crowd gasped, and so did Ephron. "I am the princess, and what I order must be done, correct?" asked Vicki. "Why, yes, your grace," said the royal bishop. "Well then, Ephron is a diabolical scoundrel!" Vicki shouted. "Guards, seize him!" "Seize her!" commanded Ephron to his soldiers. "She's an impostor!" "But I'm not Ephron," called a voice from the doorway. It was Princess Melanie. "What the—" Ephron gasped when he saw the real princess rushing her way up to him. Ephron commanded one of his guards to seize her, but Princess Melanie's soldiers fought with them in a fierce sword fight. The battle was on. As Princess Melanie's soldiers fought with Ephron's soldiers, Princess Melanie stepped up to confront Ephron, and she demanded an explanation. Gustavo stepped in to explain about what Ephron's plan was. He even told Princess Melanie that Ephron was responsible for the death of her parents. "Ephron, is this true, what my royal advisor had told me?" Princess Melanie asked, shocked and furious. "It is true. They were in my way when I wanted something. Before you turned 18, I killed them so I could be king," Ephron answered with venom in his voice. The people in the throne room fell silent. "Prince Wendell and Princess Melanie aren't fit to sit on thrones to be the new king and queen of England. I am," Ephron announced angrily. "This kingdom belongs to me." Just then, Ephron felt someone bonk him on the head, knocking him out cold with a fan. It was Lavender again. "Well done, Lavender," Prince Wendell said. "Thank you," replied Lavender. Ephron, now knocked out cold, was taken out of the throne room and into the dungeon, never to harm anyone again. Joyously, Vicki rushed to Princess Melanie's side and embraced her. "Golly, am I glad to see you, your grace," she cried happily. Princess Melanie hugged Vicki back. "Ah, and what fun I had in your village," she replied, grinning. With Ephron defeated, things in the kingdom became different. Prince Wendell and Princess Melanie were married and crowned the new king and queen of England. Vicki and the guardsman Johnny were married. Vicki became the royal clothes designer, and Johnny took over as the captain of the guard. Pepper and Poppy mated. Lavender and Perry were married too. Lavender became the royal florist, and Perry became the royal gardener. Ephron's guards reformed and became King Wendell and Queen Melanie's guards, even Ernesto. As for Ephron, well, he was sentenced to death by hanging in a few days. As she sat on her throne next to her husband, Queen Melanie had never forgotten the lessons she learned when she and the pauper had changed places that faithful day. And so, with their new companions by their side, King Wendell and Queen Melanie ruled England with justice and compassion for all. And of course, they all lived happily ever after. The end. When Melanie finished telling her very own story, like Vicki and Johnny did, everyone in the whole classroom applauded. "Thank you, Melanie," her classmates cheered. "Long live the king and queen." "Long live the king and queen" is right, Mrs. Chan agreed. "I'm very impressed that you kids come up with your very own stories. Maybe someday you'll become great authors. Wouldn't it be wonderful?" "Yes, Mrs. Chan," the eager children replied. And that is the end of Melanie and Vicki, the Princess and the Pauper. Thank you very much for joining me today, everybody. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll be reading you Vicki's Halloween in my next video. Until then, catch you later and have a lovely day!